So welcome everybody to our second Saturday's poetry reading. And we've been doing these readings at the church for the last 4 or 5 years. And since June, we've been doing them virtually. So we will start promptly at 11 o'clock. So we have already started promptly. As I said before, if you want to be in the open read, please put your name in the chat box and I will recognize you in the order that your name appears. And then at the end, just in case anyone has had a problem with chat, I'll go around and I'll pick up anyone else who didn't get their name in chat. Please keep your microphone muted. Poets, not to stereotype, you have a lot of energy. You like to have your voice heard, but please be respectful. If everyone's got their mics on, it complicates things. You all have a chance to talk. So keep your mic muted until such time as you're called upon. And then after the program, we have a tradition. I stop recording and we go around and we let you yak away. Feedback is a gift. So there is my email. So danielbkerr@verizon.com. If there's something you liked about today's program, let us know. If there's something we could have done better, let us know. If you have any other thoughts and suggestions that can improve things as we go forward, please let us know. So the planned agenda, I say planned agenda in this world, it's interesting as I get older, I think the list of things I realize I don't have control over gets longer, but our plan is to go from 11 to 12. We will flex a little bit if we have a lot of people that want to read. We're willing to flex, but we will under no circumstances go beyond 12:30. So in a moment, I'm going to introduce Barbara, turn it over to Barbara, who makes some opening comments. Barbara likes to read from one of the chapbooks, and she likes to make some opening comments. We're fortunate to have our poet today, featured poet is Glenn with, don't forget, 2 N's, Glenn Garamella, who'll be our reader today. Then we'll do the open read. Then we'll bring Glenn back for an encore, and then Barbara will close the program. So I realize that you're here for poetry. But to just want to tell you a little bit very quickly about All Souls and the various things we do. This is one of our many outreach programs. So you'll see up in the right-hand corner, there's Robert passing the twig to Barbara when she became the Poet Laureate of Suffolk County. That was a historic moment there. So we do the poetry. In normal times, we actually hold the poetry readings in the church. We've been doing them virtually since June. We will continue to do them virtually up until December, and then we'll reassess in end of December what we want to do start in January. If you ever go by the historical church, the doors are always open. We do collect food for the hungry. There are hungry in this area. They do tend to be invisible, but they're out there. And the food that we're collecting, we're actually bringing to St. Gerard's in Port Jefferson. So that's the young woman at St. Gerard's. They have a very, very large food bank. So we bring our stuff there. In normal times, we do concerts monthly within the church. We also do Native American drumming, and we do that now once a month. That's generally the 4th Thursday of the month, and we actually do that at our rectory. Our Native American drummer is Rick Stadler. It's a very powerful healing experience that comes out of the Native American tradition that's thousands of years old. So we do that. And also one of the many contributions of Kathy Donnelly to the church is we now also do Gregorian chant and music of Taizé, and we do that the 3rd Thursday of the month. So although we are a historical structure, that we're on the National Registry, please don't think that we're just a museum. And we are a functioning church, but we do believe that we're here to serve the community. And we're very grateful for the relationship we have with Barbara and the poets. So again, welcome. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Barbara. Barbara? Over to you, Barbara.
I still don't see everyone. I have yours on here. How do I get rid of that?
How's that?
Let's see. Okay, now, there we go. Okay, I'm very happy to see everyone. I want to make sure I can see you all. We have a very special guest today. It's Glenn Garamella, and I will introduce him shortly. First, as always, I always read a poem from a chapbook, from my vast collection of chapbooks. And this one I am going to read is from Norbert Croft. It's called Bittersweet Along the Expressway. And I first bought his book when he was at the barn in 2003. So here is his poem. I loved his poems because they are relating to Long Island. And I thought this was a beautiful poem of his. And Glenn is coming out with his new book very shortly, I think in December. Preservation. You sit on the floor in front of the fire and pull the frayed edges of a rose, royal blue, and beige oriental rug onto your lap. The black and white kitten that was thrown from a car into the ivy in front of the house rolls in the folds between you and the fire, rubbing belly and back against birds, swaying on stalks of irises in bloom. With needle and thread, you stitch together strips of a woolen rug shredded by a machine. Swab light spots with leftover coffee to darken the background. As I poke at the logs flickering on the andirons you rescued from the refuse in front of an antique shop, you rub a finger between the kitten's oversized ears and you say, I love to save what other people throw away. So that is Norbert Kraft. And now it's going to be my large pleasure to introduce Glenn. Glenn was raised in Douglaston, New York. He attended Queens College, earning a BA in philosophy. He also holds an MA in counseling psychology from NYU. He's now retired after spending a career developing and directing employee assistance programs for the city of New York. He's a lifelong meditator and a student of Eastern religion and spirituality. Glenn's first poetry book, called A Need to Fill, is expected to be published by December 2020. Please welcome Glenn.
Thank you so much, Barbara. I wanted just to compliment you on the great job you're doing as Poet Laureate. You're everywhere and doing everything. And I just wanted to just acknowledge what a great job you've been doing.
Thank you very much.
I wanted, of course, to thank Dan Care for all the technical assistance, and a big thank you to Kathy Donnelly for inviting me here today. I also wanted to congratulate the poet Louise Gluck, who just won the Nobel Prize in Literature. I was really happy to see that, and she's a great poet. Maybe more people will become familiarized with her work. Everything I'm going to be reading today is going to be in my new book, A Need to Fill, which will be coming out at the end of the year. So I thought I'd start out with a light poem, was plucked from the news earlier in the year. It's called Another Moon. Astronomers have found a small moon circling our planet, about the size of a family car. This mosquito of a rock will not pull the tides or push lunatics into the local mental wards. Seemed to have slipped into Earth's orbit like a postcard inside a mailbox, quietly, with plenty of room to spare on each side, intrusive as a light breeze. They say the small moon will have little effect on the Earth and won't disturb my cup of tea or tilt the heads of flowers in the backyard, invisible with the naked eye. Yet there it is, plain as the nose on your face, creating invisible rings around our lives, passing like a blackbird over our heads in the deep ocean of the night sky. No one really knows the origin. Some say chipped off the moon like a broken tooth, or simply a piece of space trash. Scientists say the small moon slipped out of orbit, entered our atmosphere, becoming a tail of fire, grinding itself to dust. Weeks later, we will be sweeping the sidewalk, absent-mindedly bumping into garbage cans, and like good stewards, reach down and clean up the leftover debris of the universe. This is a seasonal poem. It's called Snowfall. Outside the bedroom window, A fist of ice choked the mouth of the drain pipe. Last night, as snow dreamed a dream and the backyard woke under a white winter blanket. Morning was quiet inside and out the stone walls of the house. Nothing moved except a shaft of light where dust swirled like stars in a slow tornado. I could feel my heartbeat and hear the fridge hum. The cat buried itself along the hissing radiator, the floor too cold for bare feet. The day began as the day begins, not much to do, except carry this body from room to room. Couldn't think of going outside, so I watched snow melt off the roof in thin ropes of summer rain. One could almost forget the name of the season. This one is called The Edges. We grow from the edges where possibilities collect at the corners of things, where gardens cross their boundary lines and night sleeps next to sunrise. We grow where buds break the soft brown skin of earth and seasons split their branch and flower. We grow near windows and doors where we hugged our relatives goodbye and imagine that life is ending only to see the turning of a leaf. We grow as we walk inside a room which has been shut for many years, boxes filled with the past and folded promises. We grow when we decide to reach our hand across the table and swear to spend our life with a beautiful and kind-hearted stranger. We grow when we look inside our child's eyes and swear we are looking into the eyes of our grandfather. We grow when time turns into space and we cannot tell our bodies from the bodies of others, and the words we think are spoken by the lips of others. We grow when we have taken a small leap of faith and crossed the line we could only imagine would disappear before us. This one is called The Hive. Swarms of bees return even after the hive is destroyed, memory bringing them back, even when death made a clean sweep of things. The living search for the dead beneath the leaves. They are pulled into place and pushed to return to their nest of activity. Always a longing, a desire for what is left behind. Gravity draws upon the earth, attached to the slow honeysuckle roads of summer and the deep scars left behind on long winter roads. Always a desire to recreate the hive, to build back the busy circle, to be part of nature's chorus, where the single voice so often seems out of tune. The bees cannot stay away for long, orbiting the trees of apples like small red planets. They do not breed in isolation. They are meant for the company of others. They miss the missing of themselves, longing to fill up a vast geometry of space and assemble a city underground. The bees continue to hover in their scented heaven, waiting for the right time to land and begin their life of labor in the field. This is called a mystery play. It was written after watching a small boy in a restaurant caught my attention. More than a boy filled the mirror at the back of the Japanese restaurant. Magic and mystery played inside the body of this 7-year-old. He spoke to himself through smoky glass, moving his head and arms like a mime. You could not tell one from the other. The boy became the image he reflected, like a perfect summer day with sky copied in water. Lost in himself, a small god, he danced and played to his own delight. His mind turned inside out like the song from a wooden flute. The world not hardened answered to his imagination, a game to be dressed and rearranged. Before I could tell, the boy seemed older, entering the age of reason and returned to the table to sit with his parents. With head bent, he acquiesced, quietly finishing his lukewarm mountain of white rice. This is a little sadder. It's about thinking about people who have left us. We leave when all the words have left our lips, and nothing sits like a lamp upon our nightstand. We leave when all is said and done, when walks in the park have made their final round, and the lake sees us like a mirror. We leave when we have played our final song and returned our instrument to its case. When we can no longer tell the difference between the leaf and the branch, or the bird and the spot of its voice. When we have kissed the foreheads of children and embraced the expanding shadow of death. Then we will take our last meal, our mouths full of sweetness, and the echoes of sounds return to us and gather in our laps like smooth stones. Then we will leave this world like an old friend who has turned and rounded the corner. This is called You Are Far. You are far too many to count. I do not have enough fingers or toes to remember all of you who have passed this way. You who have filled deep rooms with conversations and warmed my face in your hands. You who sung your song and now moved on, who had once dreamed of heaven but now dream of earth. You who feed my memory like the pendulum of the sea. I look for your face among the crowds and listen for your voice in the windswept pastures. I prayed for you but stopped when I ran out of breath. I drank to your memory but became too drunk to continue. Once I wrote your names in a book but stopped when the pages began to blur. What should I do with the memory of you? You fill my pockets with heavy stones. Sometimes my eyes so filled with water, I feel I may drown. I do not visit your graves, for that would be like seeing a tree without leaves or a house without a roof. Missing the dead is listening to a story without end. This emptiness, a bird without wings, sitting and waiting for the wind to lift it up. This is called When Does It Stop? When my son was young, I took him to the beach for the first time. We were looking at the ocean and the waves, and he turned to me and asked, "Daddy, when does it stop?" Tongue-tied, all I could tell him was, "It doesn't." When alone with my father on his deathbed, his final words to me were, "Life goes on forever." We were born to move forward, to reach beyond our bodies, to walk the extra mile and see beyond the perimeter of the field. We are our best when we walk across a room, extending a hand, even better when we lean into a conversation. The natural rhythm is moving with the world. We even reach out during sleep. That is our comfort. Moving forward like the maple leaf unfolding in the sunlight, or the green vines snaking across the fence, unconcerned if it is right or wrong. Every minute, the heart pumps another pint through our forms. We gain the energy to take a step, then another, until we finally, like a road, run out of breath. I carry the memories of my father like a backpack. This is called waking. Do you remember sitting on the edge of the bed before the covers of night were shaken off and dreams still clung to your sleeping skin? Do you remember staring down at your feet, seeing a handful of wild horses running along the sand of the Outer Banks. You rub against reality like a sleepwalker, touching walls in the middle of the dark, holding the room, holding its breath. Slowly you bring the mind back to the body, still not knowing your name, like an empty box sitting on the doorstep, waiting for the world to return and fill you up from the outside with a book and a fresh cup of coffee. Last year I went with my family to visit Walden Pond, and our trip was with the intent of seeing Thoreau's cabin. And it was a beautiful, beautiful day, and this poem is a reflection of that. It's called Thoreau's Cabin. Only the granite markers remain. The cabin wasn't built to last, worn down like the nubs of pencils he sold in his father's wood shop. Stones would have lasted longer and given the walls a solid history, but 2+ years was all he needed in the hollow cheek of the clearing. Surrounded by pine and hickory, he became a poet of the bearded woods, unafraid to lose his reflection in the water, allowing the forest to become his school. Such courage to live alone with nature, to keep the company of your thoughts, to live without the syrup of conversation, to steer away from the approach of footsteps. He left the pond a greater man, able to hear deep within himself a voice connecting the earth far beyond the canopy of the stars. This is a short poem. It's called Husband and Wife. Silently, the two of us were reading poems in the living room. Then, full to bursting, could not contain the ton of words and spoke out loud, releasing the beauty. This is the title poem of the book. It's called A Need to Fill. Something inside me calls to fill that empty space at the front of the yard. A single voice traveling the length of the body, in need of a conversation with the outside world. The thought to add color where there is little. Transplant daylilies and let them sing. Dig out a shovel full of earth, move the bulbs and roots a stone's throw away. By summer, bright orange and yellow flames will appear, where before only a dry dirt patch. This one is called November. Leaves fall and get ground beneath my feet. The day opens its mouth and yawns. Indifferent as a hammer to a nail, sky intersects the landscape like a comb through the hair. I feel as if I'm walking underwater, roads submerged, trees undulate like long grass. Things to do each morning. I must remember gratitude before starting the grocery list. When adding miles, remember another cup of patience. I return from the temptation to leave this world too early and depart without a trace. I need to leave a mark, however small, even if a stain. This is called Yesterday. The older I get, the more I think on the past. Rivers dammed, waters circulate and turn upon themselves. The hum of voices feeds me with an echo. I hear sounds from before. We are creatures of habit and well-made beds. Sharp smells pull me back to my roots. Images appear like footprints in the snow. Dining room tables, plates of food, wine glasses, sprinkling salt, falling stars, screen doors open and slam. Red stains color the tablecloth. Remembering as a child picking ripe tomatoes in the garden is greater than imagining planets circle the sun. No one could deny this life repeated in a song. Looking in the mirror, always something missing. Memories sit close, stick in the throat like sad notes from a blue guitar. I am unable to cut the flowers from the old garden, the vase empty on the shelf. Let's see. I seem to be missing a page, I'm sorry. This is called The Subtraction of Memory. I think this might be the last poem, but seem to be missing a page on it. Yeah, if you can get me the other book. I'm sorry, I apologize. The Subtraction of Memory. This was written, my mother had Alzheimer's, and I was fearful about losing my memory. And I wrote this poem. Try to look for this. I hesitate to enter this dark room, a place where shadows linger and the echo falls upon deaf ears. A pocket of slow forgetting is what rearranged my life like a deck of cards. The weight of knowledge gets erased from the past, unearthed like a tall row of sycamore trees. The voice may stop mid-sentence, followed by a long pause, unable to find the right words to make the meaning fit. Fingerprints fade from this bowl of memory and the reach of history may ebb like a slow sea from inside the body. I may lose the names of mountains and distort the outlines of cities. Pictures of friends may begin to slip like butter from inside their frames. The mirror may just become a mirror. The narration may ground to a stop and dust collect on the rims of cups. I may find myself standing like a suitcase on the edge of a subway platform, forgotten, watching as the train pulls away. Could this be for the good, this cutting of the cord, the not knowing of anything but the present, living life moment to moment? Cool breeze upon the face, wrapped in a sudden prayer, hearing the call of crows as if for the first time.
Glenn, you've got time for one more, if you want to do one more. And
There's one more stanza to that. I apologize.
Sorry.
Could these moments become a lifetime, a bow to impermanence, counting the breaths one at a time? One more? Okay.
Yep. And then we'll bring you back for an encore after the open reading.
Okay. I'm gonna have to give me a moment, please. Okay, I'll end with this one. Where would you be now? Where would you be now if you were given another name? If you lived in the blue house on this other side of town? Where would you be now if you turned left instead of right? If you went on that blind date with that friend of a friend? Where would you be now if you did not get into that accident? or grew a full beard? Would you have more children if you changed religion? Where would you be now if you became a musician? Would you have a smile on your face instead of staring down into your third cup of coffee? Where would you be now? Thank you very much.
That's a beautiful place to end, Glenn. I've been keeping an eye on chat to see who wanted to read, and also quite a few very positive comments about your poetry, Glenn, which I'll compile and share
Geez.
with you. So,
That's fast feedback. Thank you.
well, feedback is a gift. Okay.
It sure is.
So remind everybody, go ahead, Glenn.
Nothing.
Yeah. So we're going to move into the open read. So I ask everyone to keep their mics on mute until they're called upon. And just give me a second. Okay, I'm going to mute everybody because I'm getting background noises here. Okay. Okay, so we have ground rules for the open read, and those of you who've ever been to James Wagner's Super Bowl poetry read, you'll recognize the little icon on the right, and you'll recognize the ground rules. So I have all the names of people who are entered into chat. So I will call those in the order that they were they appeared. And I do remember, Herb, that you wanted to read, so I'll call upon you and I'll let you know I got a spot reserved for you. Please, only one poem. And please, 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 only one poem. Please, please, please. I said that 3 times. So please, one poem. And the reason for that is we have many readers. And so if you've got 2 poems that you're thinking of, please, please, only one. Please wait to be called upon when you read. So we'll go through all of these. And once we're done with the open read, I'll turn it over to Barbara Southard, who will close the program. And we also, before Barbara closes, we will bring back Glenn for an encore as well. So we're scheduled to go to 12, but if necessary, we will flex until 12:30. Since we have a large number of readers today, what I'm going to do is, again, learning from the master James, Ishawa, I believe his Indian name was. I'm going to announce them in 3. So we'll call them in this order, but the first 3 readers, so you may want to organize yourself, be ready, are Linda, Robert, and Judy. Okay. So I'm going to take down this and I'm going to go to Linda. And Linda, if you could turn on your mic and you have the first read.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. This is called The Train That Never Came for the Pacific Northwest Shoreline. O'er the logs afloat it roiled. I heard it calling in the night. Through wind and fog and rain, 1,000 cars just out of sight, just past my window pane. The whistle blowing closer now, like waves upon the shore. I, searching the horizon, could only hear its roar. The engine steam, it filled the air like fog upon the wood. Was that locomotive really there, not far from where I stood? It called and haunted through the night, persistent, piercing sleep, my lidded bags already packed, succumbing then to sleep. Upon the crest of morning, still through the salty mist, I heard the whistle blowing, this ghost train that I missed. I never saw its engine, nor read the railroad name. It I will always simply call the train that never came. The train that never came, oh, the train that never came, racing through the salty mist, the train that never came. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, Robert, you're up next.
Okay, can we hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, very well. Glenn, I just want to say that was a great selection of poems. You can put my pre-order for that book in now. I'm going to read a seasonal poem as interpreted by most. It was actually a poem that I had written for my wife, whose birthday is in October, actually tomorrow. October's opal. October is here once again, barely transcending the threshold of autumn. The maple is turning yellow to orange to red, soon to be bared by winter. Ah, winter, when blankets of bliss cover spoon-fit bodies, flickering sparks to flames, until love of spring gardens becomes the rapture of summer bloom. And looking from outside in beyond recognizable beauty, the ruby of jewels glows bright, pumping currents of rivers red deep into the wells of each extremity, and our chests fill with laughter. When apart, even so brief, this season stays with you, whether I am or not, and your voice with me through wind's immutable breath. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert, and happy birthday to Sabrina. Okay, next up is Judy. Judy, if you can turn your mic on, please.
There we go. Thank you, Glenn. That was a wonderful, wonderful reading. Sentimental, terrific. So I have a poem by our youngest poet. He wrote it this morning. Unnamed as yet. Everything has a name. Even the peace lily, Spathiphyllum, has a name, and that's really hard for me to say. I don't have a name. Well, not yet. Peace lilies live in the Araceae family. I'm in the Turric family. That much I do knows. I knows a few things, like my brother Snickers doesn't like it when I bits his leg, but I can't help my razor blade toofies. Mommy tells me they will fall out, but I think I need them. Snickers says I have lots of names like Yoo-hoo and Hey and No Puppy, but I don't like those names. I wants my own, and I could help, but Mommy says that my grandma ain't so good, and she knows these things. I love it here with my new forever home. I have 2 rooms, one on each floor just for me. My brother wouldn't fit in. He's lots bigger. I'm only 3 pounds. That's what I is, and he's older, really old, like 12, and I'm only 8 weeks. He calls me the new guy. I like that. I like him. My mommy feeds me good stuff, and my daddy cleans up after me. He says my puppy breath smells better than the other end, but I don't understand. I love them lots and lots and lots. I'm hungry all the time, and I'm starving for a name. There's one out there just for me. If you have it, can you please give it to me? From the new puppy.
That was great, Judy.
Thank you.
Okay, so we got the next 3 up, and just a little bit of housekeeping here. The name that when you sign in chat, the name that appears in the chat box is the name that the computer that you signed in from. So if you are using your wife's computer or using your significant other's computer or a friend's computer, bear in mind, I'm not going to be calling upon you. I'm going to be calling on the name that appeared when you logged in. So in the order that we had them, we have Emily Sue, followed by Barbara, Bianca, and then by James from North Carolina. Okay, so Emily, over to you. You have to turn your mic on.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Glenn, for a great reading. Today I'm going to read Autumn's Leaving. It's raining out. It's leaving out. The earth turns away from the sun's warmth, eyes averted, drooped in the dusk of shortened days. I want to say it's leafing out, but new buds won't unfurl for another 2 clicks of the year's dial. Northern trees earn their rings as at the season's slow pace. Darkness chases light, cold chases warmth, air and soil absorb the rotations. I look upward into bearing branches by day, a moon sliver by night breaking through the crisp dark sky. Despair flavored with a healthy dash of hope. We don't feel the spinning, wouldn't know if we are careening out of control, what our trajectory may be across eons and acres, daring our minds to contemplate infinity. Can we count the leaves that fall each day? If we would just let them lie where the wind takes them, they might renew the earth's promise of sharing its cycles with life in all its vibrant colors and forms. Sustenance from rich compost, banquet of dreams.
Thank you. That was great.
Thank you.
Got to think twice now when I start to rake the leaves this year. So, okay, Barbara, if you could come off mute, you're next.
Okay, I am. Everybody can hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
I'm going to read a short poem that was recently published in Walt's Corner of the Long Islander. That was Walt Whitman's, I founded that Huntington newspaper last century, 2 centuries ago. This is called Lose Yourself. It doesn't take much. You don't need fancy boots. The path is soft. There are weathered pine needles. Many hundreds have gone before you. As long as the whisper of wind through the treetops is louder than the passing traffic, you can lose yourself in the pines. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. That was beautiful. Okay, James from North Carolina, if you want to come off mute.
Okay, there we are. Is that good?
You were on. We just lost your sound, James. We're not hearing you. There you go. Leave it there. You're on.
On right there, okay.
Don't touch anything else.
Okay, United States with golden gates. When we saw the United States, we're greeted by golden gates. Best place where we want to be. God does abide in our society. True to each other, everyone tells, could hear clanging freedom bells. Independence, they all did declare, while Jesus with us is always fair. God many things did grant, wide wheat fields started to plant. Milk was made from many cows. Peace on earth he always allows. Prayed for people and pandemic. Those who died or are still sick. Saw morning sun starting to break. Each soul to heaven God did take. Did grow dark after the sun had set. We have hope while fools will fret. Pure and perfect as God had made. Pretty soon into serenity shall fade. Amen.
Thank you, James. That was great. Just James, please also expend our best wishes to Father Farrell. As I mentioned, James is from North Carolina, and he's also a member of the parish that is now led by Father Farrell, who used to be at All Souls. So please give our best to Farrell.
Will do.
Okay. Okay, James, if you could go on mute. And now our next reading of 3, we'll have Jack, and then we have Dan, and then we'll have Kathy Donnelly. So Jack, if you could come off mute, please.
Here I am.
Okay.
Okay. This poem is called Naked. Naked. I'm afraid to bare myself. Why? There are traumas of old, though I long to be free. Naked with a belly scarred from surgery. Naked with hair, naked with blemish. I will not be ashamed. Naked and vulnerable with the shyness that goes with it. Naked in thoughts, naked in body. There are walls and thoughts that bind me. It's time to undress.
Thanks, and thanks for getting naked with us. So, okay. Okay, Jack, if you could go on mute. Okay, the next poem that we have is by Dan Kerr. And as you all know, I'm a member of All Souls. My wife and I came there in 1993 looking for a place to get married. We both grew up in the Catholic Church, and as many of us know about marriage, oftentimes we don't get it right the first time and we need a second chance. So we walked into All Souls and knew that we would have a second chance. We've been there ever since. We got married there in '94. So I grew up in a very Roman Catholic household. I was the youngest of 8 kids. And this poem is an ode to Father Joe. And Father Joe was the family priest. And my mother's name was Vivian, and she had 8 kids. So with that background, Vivian was the matriarch of our family, ruler over 8 children, 15 grandchildren, and numerous cats and dogs. Tsarina Alexandra of Russia had Rasputin as her confessor and guide. My mom had Father Joe. There's an unfortunate stereotype that old Irish priests are drunks, argumentative, and bigoted. Father Joe was all three. Although he spoke fluent Spanish and celebrated the noble sport of bullfighting, he never liked Mexicans. Mom always said Father Joe came out of seminary handsome, athletic, and full of hope over saving souls. I knew him as fat, bald, and red-faced between glasses of scotch. He must have crossed his own personal Rubicon when his stomach grew so big he could no longer swing his golf club. Father Joe enjoyed taking the 5 Kerr boys swimming and holding us all underwater as he babbled something about John the Baptist. This was a rite of passage for all of us. Father Joe thought it built character and provided an occasion for prayer. Father Joe preferred the time he was born to the time he lived in. To him, Vatican II was a mistake. The Mass should have stayed in Latin, and the priest should never have to face the parishioners during the consecration. As the youngest of 8 children, I became the family provocateur, and Father Joe was my foil. As the world, the Catholic Church, and the country all changed, Father Joe found his true calling as a gargoyle standing guard to frighten away the winds of change. From the time I was 9 until the time my parents moved to Florida when I was 18, Father Joe and I argued about every visit to our home. We debated Cuba, Vatican II, Vietnam, evolution, Nixon, Muhammad Ali, and any other issues that divided young and old back then. After a few scotches, as we argued, Father Joe would shout, "Go to your room, boy." I never did. My mother may have cried when he said, I was the best argument for celibacy he ever met. He became enraged when I responded that he was perhaps the best argument for birth control. As time passed, our arguments grew more heated. I don't know if it was because of my hormones or Father Joe's growing frustration about the difference between the life he planned coming out of seminary and the life he lived as he aged. It is difficult to stand at the barricades and flap your wings against the winds of change. The drinking and overeating all caught up with Father Joe when he died a lonely and frustrated man at the age of 64. But as time goes by, my love for him has deepened, and I sense his presence in me. Whenever I try to advocate my position and marshal my facts, I draw heavily on the experience of arguing with Father Joe years ago. There is a picture of Father Joe in my office. I'm looking at it right now. He sits between my oldest brother and me, and I'm hugging him in that picture. And there's a big smile on his face, and my brother and I are smiling as well. Father Joe's life proves St. Paul was right. We are all broken and flawed human beings. Father Joe had his faults, but I thank God he was such an important character in my life, especially when I argue with my nieces about green energy, historical statues, and healthcare, and all the issues of the day that divide young and old. Thank you. And next we have Kathy Donnelly. Kathy, over to you.
Hi, Glenn. That was one of the best readings ever. Thank you so much. Wonderful, wonderful. We seem to have enough time, so I'll read a poem. It's called Past Day. For all of those out there that are still working and working really hard, you know what a day off means, and so past day. What will you do on your day off? I asked. She replied, nothing. But I knew nothing wouldn't last. She would wake up at 5 a.m., her inner clock set for work, stir her into consciousness. She'd slip back into a dream, remember it. For the telling, interpretation, we'd have an interesting chat. Sleepy to the shower, hot spray on nakedness, the feel of Irish spring on soft skin arousing every cell of her slight form, awakening microscopic debris, returning to earth. Sauntering out to the porch with her morning coffee, she'd listen to the weeping willow, alive with birdsong, branches floating on slow wind. breath in sun-drenched air, slow, deep breaths, as many as she liked, knowing she had the time. A four-limbed stretch, undo any limitations, trying to enter her mind, sense her own freedom. Whenever she felt like it, she would don a flimsy dress, throw it over her head, walk barefoot, hair free to rest on her shoulders. No makeup, no jewelry, no watch. These were easy choices. It would be an easy day. Her man would visit. She'd be easy for him too.
Thank you, Kathy. That was great. Okay, next up in threes, we have Triumph, we have Herb, and we have Bill. So Triumph, if you could come off mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'll read a poem. It's called There Is Another Sky by Emily Dickinson. So it's kind of inspiring. It tells you that there are other opportunities in life. If you fail to one, there is another sky. So here we go. There is another sky, even serene and fair, and there is another sunshine, though it be darkness there. Never mind faded forests, Austin. Never mind silent fields. Here is a little forest whose leaves is evergreen. Here is a brighter garden where not a frost has been. In its unfading flowers, I hear the bright bee hum. Pretty my brother, into my garden come. Thank you.
Thank you, Triumph. That was great. Always good to hear from Emily Dickinson, and so good to see you as well. Give my best to all the folks at
Thanks.
Caroline Church.
Sure.
Okay, Herb, we didn't forget you, so you have to turn on your microphone.
Okay, can you hear me?
You are loud and clear.
Oh, good. Okay, very good. Oh, good. I'm glad my son helped me put all this together on the right day, the perfect day. Great reading, Glenn. Excellent. Okay, this is from October 15, 1976, the city of Orange in Southern California. Full moon, green leaves, October, winter constellations. Amy, it's about 3 a.m. Winter constellations are crisply shining through this October night. The earth is still. Peace is like the air, refreshing to breathe. The leaves of each tree are still alive and green. They seem strange together, green leaves, October, and winter constellations. Peace and the universe. On this unusual night, I have you both around and within me. Smiling, I turn to the full moon. The entire sky is without a cloud. Amy, tonight, though clouds exist and October and winter are present, you are an enlivening vision. You make me feel green like the leaves. While dreaming of you, I watched the moon pour her beautiful, snowy grace everywhere. The leaves seem to enjoy the moon's most personal affection. They glow a splendid green while swaying with the soft wind's rhythmic songs. The blue winter stars don't attract the leaves' attention. They care only for the moon's full, brilliant beauty. Thank you.
Thank you, Herb. Very mystical. Okay. And last but not least, before I'll get anyone whose name didn't show up on the list, we'll give you a chance as well. But Bill, if you want to come off mute.
Hello. I'm glad to be here. By the way, I also grew up in Douglaston, Herb, back in the 40s. So maybe we'll have a chance to talk sometime. This is a poem, it's simply called Books. It's in a sonnet form. I somehow keep returning to the sonnet form. A new book has a captivating smell of mystery, of intrigue, and of wonder, luring to its secrets hidden well, the reader unaware the spell you're under. An old book has a friendly handshake feel. So good to see once more the one I miss. Let's share again our stories. Come, let's seal our friendship with a cup of reminisce. A lost book is like a half-forgotten song, a snatch of which you often find you're singing. You likely have the melody all wrong. You can't recall the ending or beginning. Once read, a book forever haunts your brain. A lot is lost, but parts of it remain.
Thank you, Bill. That was great. Okay, so at this stage, before I call back Glenn for an encore, if there's anyone, oh, someone would like to read. That's Ruth. Thank you, Ruth. You've given me a new, that's actually not Ruth. It looks like someone, I recognize that face. So come on off mute. Go ahead. Okay, you got to unmute your mic. The person not confused with Ruth, I know I've met you before. You've got to turn on your mic. There you go.
Okay, Dan, I'm here. Thank you for reading my note. I don't know how to get on the chat. I'm not good at this computer stuff.
That's okay. We're here to help. So go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, this is a recent poem. It's called The Sound of Birds. Do you hear it? The faint cries just there in the nearby maple. Chicks calling, crying in the nest, calling for food. As we watch, the robin returns to still the calling chicks. Crows are a different call, loud, important, shouting amongst themselves high in the boughs. What is it, we wonder, to have broken the quiet of our day? Have you ever heard the sweetest call of an early morning sparrow? A plain brown bird with such a wonderful song. Do you hear it? Tap, 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 tap. I hear it through the window, a tiny woodpecker out in the snow without a coat. At dusk, we hear the soft call of an owl. You can hear it off somewhere, high in the branches, unseen. Under winding wisteria vines, we hear the repeated call of a cardinal. I find him perched high in distant branches. Chirp, 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 chirp. Chirp, 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 chirp. How we delight in our little nuthatch as he hops along the porch rail, chirping. Out fishing on a cold October morning, there's a stillness on the lake as we glide, and we hear the loons call across the water. Whatever can it be, the squawking of a flock of jays flying in and through the branches of our giant pine. On and on it continues, loud and furious. Something is very wrong up there. We have no cat now to cause such an outcry. On and on it goes as we wonder at the sound. We sit and listen in our ignorance. And then suddenly it's over and we are left in silence to wonder at the sound of birds.
That was great, Don. I'm going to pay more attention when I change the stuff in the bird feeder at the church.
Well, you don't always hear the birds. Lots of birds don't really have much of a sound. But you know what's really interesting is the song of a sparrow. Sparrow, it's very rare that you would hear it. You hear it maybe 5:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's a wonderful, wonderful sound of a sparrow.
That's great.
Thank you for letting me read.
You're ready. Thanks, Don. And I'll go around again, if there's anyone before I call back Glenn for an encore, if there's anyone who hasn't read yet and would like to read, just come off mic and I'll recognize the first person who comes off mic. I'll wait about a half a minute.
Hi, Daniel.
Hello there.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, is there time?
Yep, there is time. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to do some words that were written by the Holy Spirit via the Apostle Paul to the Corinthians. If I speak in the tongue of men or of angels, but do not have love. I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor, and give all my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Thank you.
That was wonderful, Jay. Two thoughts. I know you have many talents. You might want to consider joining the wedding industry, because I've heard that.
Yes, I know that one.
So I could just, talk about planning a wedding. That would be great to have that read. And the other is we do a morning prayer service on Tuesday. We always have a reading from the epistle. So if you ever want to come in Tuesday morning, 8 o'clock and read one of St. Paul's letters, just let me know. It would definitely wake up the 8 o'clock crew. So thank you very much. That was great.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, going once, going twice, want to be inclusive? Okay, I hear a sound. Mary Phillips, is that you?
That's me. Can you hear me?
Yes, please. I'm so glad you want to read. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm being brave today, stepping out in faith after the Corinthians. Little inspiration. This is called So There. This is how it goes. Contentment is a cozy, oversized sweater with mustard stains. That sandwich was good. Contentment is a navy blue winter coat covered with white dog hair. She loves to sleep on my coat. Contentment is not bothering to fix imperfection, because stains don't matter, and nothing is more beautiful than my dog's hair. Thank you.
That was great. Okay, anyone else want to come off mute who hasn't read yet? I'm just going to take a look at all the heads here and kind of go around. So I see Jack is read, Mary Phillips is read. Ashley, if you want to read, or if Emmy wants to read, that's fine. And I don't see any others. Erin, if you want to read, you're welcome. You're under no obligation. Under no obligation, no pressure. Always welcome to read. Okay, so I think we got everybody. So let's bring back Glenn for an encore. Let's give him a big virtual welcome back. We got them warmed up for you, Glenn. They're all yours. You got to put your mic on. Glenn, you got to turn on your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you are. You're on.
Okay, great. Before I begin, I just wanted to thank Kathy and Barbara again for the invitation to read today. I enjoyed it very, very much. I hope everyone else did too. This last poem is dedicated to my brother-in-law, and it's called Phantom Limb. He sits in his wheelchair on the porch, the lake in the distance. Lost his leg a few years ago. For this Marine, not a war wound, but a simple blood clot behind the knee. On good days, he photographs a family of eagles. On bad days, he remembers hitting a softball and rounding the bases. At 75, now on the sidelines, watching a marathon on TV, the warm breeze of the runners brushing against his face. 5 legs replace the one that's missing. When traveling from here to there, the walker stumbles like a drunkard. Phantom pain fools him into feeling what is not there. Pain travels each and every inch. 3 states away, his grandson, head bent, stares into a tidal pool as a starfish waits to grow a new limb. Thank you.
Very moving, Glenn. I think anyone who's ever lived with an amputee, that's just beautiful. Just beautiful. Okay, so Barbara, back to you. Barbara, you have to come off mute.
I'm off mute. You can hear me, right?
Yes, we can. We're welcoming you back.
Well, isn't this wonderful? Isn't this the most wonderful way to get through the rest of the week? Just listening to these wonderful poems. Glenn, your poems were so outstanding. I cannot wait to get your book so I can add it to my bookcase. Wonderful, wonderful poems. Small Boy, Where Would You Be Now? A poem about old books. And then there were all the open readers with poems about California, the puppy poem, Judy's puppy poem, where she has the puppy right there. It was just wonderful. And so we are really looking forward to next month. I'm not sure who is next month.
I'll call it up for you, Barbara. Just one second.
Right.
So that's our referee, and here we go.
It's Barbara Branca. So we're going to have Barbara Branca next month. So make sure that you come and see Barbara with her vibrant, wonderful poetry. All right. And so thank you everyone for coming. It's wonderful, wonderful time spent.
That's great. So thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you to all the readers. We do remember that, and we do believe that feedback is a gift. So if you have any feedback on what we did today, any suggestions for improving it, that's my email right there. Just send me a note. And if you want to be on our mailing list for all the events that we do, just send me a note as well. So I'm going to stop recording here.